all the way up. I'm gonna turn around. What's up, y'all? Sitting here playing through my favorite amp, the amp that changed, rock and roll, the Marshall JTM 45. This is a modern reissue of the amp that came out in 1962. Not exactly the first design of it, but back in the early 60s, you had Jim Marshall working at his drum shop, trying to integrate guitars and amps into his business, and kind of realizing that it was expensive to get these American amps over, if they could even get them over. And then he decided to build his own off of the Fender Bassman sort of circuit. A local availability to parts and whatnot. It ended up being a little bit different, and it created something beautiful. And then you have people like Eric Clapton picking up the 212 combo version of this amp and playing on the Beano record, and that sound just kind of went out into the ether and just changed history. Then you have people like Jimi Hendrix seeing Eric Clapton playing Marshall amps and him wanting a Marshall, and the Les Paul, actually, it's funny how all this stuff kind of builds on itself. Even with Les Paul's, he kind of was right there in the if not the first, in like the first few players to kind of create the Les Paul frenzy. Clapton wasn't even looking for a burst. Clapton was looking for one of these after seeing Freddie King with his gold top. Again, in local availability, at the time he could get his hands on a burst. I think he played a friend's burst and bought it from, I can't remember the details, but all that to say, these kind of coincidences and things, it's just people kind of working with what they've got, and then they end up creating and doing things that inadvertently, create and open way bigger doors than they ever thought of. So anyway, the point of today is I've got the full 30 watt JTM 45, which I've been playing on for quite some time now. Love this amp. I just got this in. This is the JTM Studio. It's supposed to be the same idea as what this is. And again, the JTM is kind of like, later on they came up with the, the bigger 50 watt and 100 watt Plexis, as we refer to them, because this is also, a Plexi fronted, amp in itself. But things that made this different, there's a tube rectifier in here. I think it's a GZ34, I believe is the tube name. So tube rectifier versus like the solid state rectifier, which is in the bigger Plexis, it's a big part of what gives this amp puts those amps in two different worlds. This is like way, I don't know, it has a lot more sag and give to it. If you were to really run the bass high on these amps, it would just kind of get almost out of control and kind of flubby. That can happen too on Plexis though. But this amp overall, compared to like a 50 watt or 100 watt Plexi, is just, again, it's a lot spongier, warmer, rounder sort of feeling in comparison to like the tighter, more immediate and maybe strident feel of playing a bigger brother Plexi amp. And this one is supposed to, again, replicate this with a few more modern features and at a lower wattage. The cool thing with the JTM Studio is you get a low and a high switch. So on low it gives you 5 watts. It cuts the power down in this to 5 watts. And then high is your 20 watts, which is kind of rated at. You get an effects loop on the back. I believe there's a DI out of some sort on the back side as well. and you get all sorts of, you know, different combinations of outputs to different speaker cabs, and it's in, again, a small format, and it's quiet, which is kind of cool. The way I wanted to run these two amps together is, you know, this doesn't have an effects loop in it, unless you get like a, you know, some sort of like power station or attenuator that has its own loop built in. You can't really, if you're running this hotter and you're getting breakup, you know, running reverb and whatnot can be kind of tricky with it. I like to split up my reverbs anyway. Like live, I like to use two amps. I'll use one dry and one wet. It's not, I don't think it's the technically right way to do wet dry. I just like, I put one is like almost completely reverbed out. It's not completely reverb, but essentially this amp, when I'm turning it up and down, is like an effects sort of like level, because there's so much verb on the second amp, and I'm accomplishing that with this amp by using the effects loop on the back. This is the Spring King Junior, just like a little reverb-ish tank in a convenient sort of size that I can put through the effects loop and essentially get you know, reverb control for this. Even if it's cranked up, it doesn't, again, it's, you guys know, an effects loop is not gonna go crazy when this amp gets cooking. So I thought it'd be cool, since I have both, you know, to do kind of like a side-by-side-ish comparison. I'm gonna run it through this cab, the 412, just so we get the same sound and it's accurate. I will have to switch the speaker cable in between, but I'll you know, probably play through a couple different settings. I'll do a low kind of, you know, as low as I can get it sort of setting, and then I'll do halfway up, and then I'll do full blast. Let's do it. The volume's just on for this part of the A/B comparison. I just want to kind of start with the amps the same volume. So the volume knobs are in completely different spots, but they're at the same volume, so you can kind of get a better feel. For the second part of this, I'll probably just try to match the knob position, like a 50%, and then a full on. So here we go. was loud. So as you can see, the full-on JTM 45 is significantly louder. Even though it's rated at just 10 watts more, it's, you know, it goes a long way. It'll be interesting for me to go back and kind of hear these a beat, you know, listening to them so close and also so far apart. It's kind of hard to tell the immediate differences. But let me know what you guys think. Does the full-on version sound any different to you than its, you know, little brother in the studio? I will say this does have that tube rectifier, whereas this has a solid state rectifier. And when they asked Marshall about the decision on that, like, were they trying to replicate that sound, or they feel like they needed to have you know, a solid state a tube rectifier inside the small one, their response was that because this was already such a low volume amp, that like when it got up to like playing volumes and kind of where most people are going to be using it, it's already going to be compressing and kind of giving you that saggy feel. So they didn't feel like they needed to have the tube rectifier in the small one. Other notable differences is that if you get the combo version of this, or the 112 or the 212, this is already such a, you know, low wattage amp that they wanted to give it a big feel. So they put the 65 watt single 12 greenback versus the 4 25 watt rated greenbacks in here, to try to get it somewhere, you know, feeling closer. Small amp but big sound and big feel. Even if you know, are just carrying this sort of portable 112 cabinet. I think this amp is super cool. Like I already said, the JTM 45, in my opinion, is one of the best amps you can get. It's my favorite amp. Even like just clean, because I pretty much use this as more of a clean pedal platform. It does get, you know, on the edge of breakup in certain settings. Certainly if I'm on some really big stages, I'm really pushing it, it'll start to break up, but a lot of times it's fairly clean, and I love it for that. And I love it for the flexibility to actually be able to do both. So it's really cool to be able to have it in a smaller, more compact setup with like other features. It's nice that it has the 5 watt setting as well. If I just want to show up to a gig and sit in with some folks, and I really want to, you know, gain it up, and I don't want to be blowing everybody away. Not that you could necessarily really do that with a 20 watt amp anyway, but it's nice to be able to have that option for, you know, a little bit more compression without having to, you know, bring pedals as well. And it's also great that this has an effects loop to be able to run reverbs or delays or anything you want into this. And again, for full transparency, I am endorsed by Marshall. They sent me both of these amps, not to make videos on them, but to play them live. And I have been very happily, and I just wanted to do a video on it because I've got this YouTube channel. So, and thanks again everyone who came out to the Cleveland, Ohio, and Lima and Buffalo, New York shows that I just got back from. We hit some crazy weather coming back. Like, we were driving through a snowstorm basically all the way until we hit the Tennessee border. That was it was intense, and the van is still covered in salt and everything else. Most of March I'm going to be home here in Atlanta, working on releasing some new music and doing a lot more stuff here on the YouTube channel. I'm releasing a new song called Blow on March 13th. And then on March 25th, I'm going to be playing in Seattle at the Triple Door, a really cool venue. I'll put that ticket link down in the description. And as always, let's get loud.